am I supposed to clap too?
No, you're good. That's
Okay, I was like,
yeah.
oh, shit.
That's fine.
That'll
Now we're into it. That's where we're starting, right?
Yeah, I guess so.
I guess so. Yeah.
Yeah, I
Oh,
wanted. How's it going, everybody? Back another week. What are we? Episode 7 here. Week 7. Is that what we are on?
Something
6,
like that.
7. I don't even know. I lose track. Time's been flying by because there's so much to do during quarantine. Great episode coming at you today. We've got a very special guest. I'll let Andrew do that intro in a second. And then we've got a new segment this week. We're going to try it out. First week ever. We'll get to that too. So, Andrew, you want to introduce who we've got on this week?
Well, I think he can introduce himself, but Nate Spanish, we got him on the podcast here to talk with us today. I've got a weird story to tell you guys, and you guys are gonna think I'm crazy for bringing this up. But if I don't say something about it, I swear to God, I'm gonna be thinking about it the entire podcast. So we went to school together, obviously, Nate Spanish and I. And when we were in kindergarten, Power Rangers was the big thing, right?
Big year.
Big year for Power Rangers. Yeah. Big year for everybody.
Big year for a lot of stuff. Yeah.
And specifically, there was a one Power Rangers Wild Force. I don't know if you guys remember this show, but
vaguely, yeah.
Nate, you had the coolest character on that show was the Gray Wolf Power Ranger, and you had the action figure for that guy, and you brought it into school, and I was like, "Holy shit, that's so awesome!" And I was like,
I had to flex the Power Ranger.
Yeah, show what's up.
Straight from Target, yeah.
It's good stuff.
And I was like, you have to let me borrow that. And you were a nice guy. You were like, yeah, of course, dude. Here you go. So I took it, I put it in my backpack, and I never gave it back to you. And it's still there. It's in the basement, somewhere in the very basement that Matthew is sitting in right now.
Why did you give me a heads up? I would have dug it out. I think I know. I actually
think an antique at this point.
Yeah,
basically. We should sell that. You should ask for compensation for that. Look up what it would be in pristine condition, and get recompensated. That Andrew will get you right back.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, well, I mean, if you want to, whatever the new like cartoon toys are, like we could just that way it's up to date and everything. We could just swap out
with interest. We get it back with interest.
Oh yeah, but yeah, I don't know. You got to keep that stuff. Sometimes it might be worth something, like G.I. Joes and all that.
Probably. I don't know. I did not take care of it. It's pretty scratched up.
Just chucked it out the window as soon as he grabbed it.
A little bit.
Fuck, Nate. I'm never giving this fucking thing back.
I knew it even then. So, Nate, how have you been... Well, go ahead. I didn't mean to interrupt you.
Oh, it's funny, like, what people remember about certain people, because, like, I grew up an only child. I'm surprised I let anyone borrow anything, you know?
Yeah, I never would have let anybody borrow that. I'm not saying
because you were an asshole.
Honestly.
That's true. I'm not trying to say, like, you idiot, you have no idea. You let me take this thing. Oh, man. Yeah. But, yeah, I know it sounds so weird, but honestly, like, that's just part of how my brain works. Like, I cannot tell you how many times over the years I've thought about
stolen things from people?
No.
Yeah. Nice.
I got a whole collection of stuff that's not even mine. But just about how many times I thought about that I just straight up stole that toy from you. And it was because I'm telling you, I mean, you might not remember, but you really liked that Power Ranger toy.
Did
he forget that he gave it to you and just thought he lost it? Or like,
I don't know.
He was too nice to ask for it back?
That was probably
I wonder. Because, like, I don't recall it all, but, yeah, I do wonder what my, like, 4 or 5-year-old self...
Your thought process.
But you're a kid, you just forget, you know? You start, like, playing with other... You know, like, you just move on so fast.
Who was your first grade teacher?
Miss
Kadish. Yeah.
Miss Kadish. I don't even know who that is.
She was a weirdo.
I feel like first grade. I was gonna say I feel like first grade teachers might have been pretty disposable because my first grade teacher I think was Miss Zilbauer, and I think she only did like a few years stint. Nobody knows who that is either.
That's not even
she couldn't take it anymore.
No, she used to. She did not like me because I had a creative mind. So
That's what they say.
yeah,
Those kids get.
she
shunned in
wanted me to
school.
live inside the system. No,
You
she
can't
yelled
put
at me
you in a
once
box.
for saying I was just talking about like piercing ears, like not piercing my own ear, but like people with ear piercings, like but piercing it themselves. And she did not like that for some reason. I guess probably not the appropriate thing for a first grader to be telling other first graders to do, pierce their own ears. But
I don't know. Give it a shot.
First grade.
yeah,
Matthew,
it's
will
just
you
a
turn,
needle.
Will you turn your mic down a little bit, Matthew? You're screaming
Yeah,
at
sorry.
us. It's
Well,
all right.
I just talk loud.
Well, you're such a passionate
How
fella.
about now? Are we good? Testing.
You sound exactly the same.
Fuck. How about now? What about now?
Whatever works for me.
Is it? What about now? I turned it down a lot.
Okay, no, I
No,
believe you.
Is it really the same? Maybe I'm just talking louder as I turn
Turning it down, but yelling louder.
Yeah.
No, I'm just kidding.
To compensate.
Here, I turned it down.
Jesus
Oh, yep,
Christ.
good.
Now we're all set.
No, is it actually good now? I turned it down a lot though.
Yeah, it works for
Is
me.
it the same? Okay.
I don't know. You sound fine.
What? Doing something
Cool.
important right now. I actually am. You gotta not right now. Okay.
This is live. This is, you know what? This is the stuff
yeah.
that the
This-
viewers love to see.
This is why
I knew that was
people-
gonna happen.
action.
This is all staying
This
in.
was-
This is why people
Yeah.
listen to podcasts.
That's the highlight right there.
Yeah.
absolutely.
That's the
Mom,
segment we're
yeah.
going to tweet out. Nate Spanish was on the
Yeah.
podcast saying that's the segment we're going to tweet out, that 15-second clip.
That's all they're gonna
No,
remember. They're not even
Doing
gonna
something
remember
important right now. Yeah.
the music. Yeah.
You gotta not.
So let's
you
bring
gotta
that
not
to
right
bring
now.
that up. Andy, I know you had some questions about some stuff. I don't know if you wanted to get into a little bit of that.
Yeah, I
Can you hear
mean,
me?
well, first and foremost, one of the things we've just been asking our guests now, and this kind of ties in, because the reason we're having you on is you got this new album, Velvet, that's out that people have to listen to.
It's weird hearing other people say it.
Yeah.
Well, it's true, man. I told you.
Yeah.
I listened to it 4 times, and I honest to God,
Thank you. I
really
appreciate
liked it.
that.
Like, I texted Matthew. I sent him
Thank you.
the Spotify link. I
Yep,
was
send
like,
it to me. So
I think it would
Yeah.
be really cool if we had this guy on to talk about it. This kind of goes, I mean, obviously quarantine is happening. It's kind of like winded down now or whatever. But I mean, what have you been up to in the quarantine? That's just something we've been asking people in general.
Yeah. I was thinking about this too. I was like, what am I gonna say? But yeah, pretty much like what everyone else is doing. You know, we're slowly breaking the rules, trying to get a kickball game together tomorrow.
there you
Some
go.
people, we got 12 folks coming out for some kickball tomorrow. But
I think 10's the
pretty much.
limit.
it might have some subs, or someone doesn't show up, or we have an injury. But yeah, so pretty much what everyone else is doing. Went through like a hard video game phase, then like try to get in some movies and texting everybody, make sure everyone's good. And then, well, that's kind of why I posted the album, because we we had it all done and wasn't even mastered yet, and I was like, I gotta just put this out. Like, I'm bored.
Yes.
So I put it out on
yeah.
YouTube first, unmastered, and we had some complications with it, but yeah, that's pretty much why it came out, because I was just bored.
Okay, that makes sense. Because seriously, that's one of the things that I was most curious about is like, what is it like putting something like that out, putting an album out while this whole thing is happening? Like, we've been doing the podcast during quarantine, and we started it during
Yeah.
quarantine and everything, but I mean, a completely different animal, you know?
Right. Yeah, I follow a lot of like Instagram accounts, like blogs and stuff, and they're just talking about like, oh, like this is like a good time for independent artists to like post stuff, and same with any podcast or like artwork or anything.
Any creative,
like-
yeah.
Yeah, because people are just sitting at home on their phones or whatever. So, and we were sitting on the music for a little while, and we kind of just like lost track of it, I guess. And I was like, well, now's the time, and like, everyone's at home, and they said something about like, there's like stats that said like independent artist streams are like higher right now,
Wow.
because people just have more time. So, yeah, basically just came down to like time and just boredom overall. So it worked out kind of well.
I'll say, I think it worked out. When you say we were sitting on it, we were sitting on this music and stuff, wasn't even mastered yet, we
Yeah.
were waiting. Are you talking about Ivy League?
Yes,
Okay.
that would be it.
Because
Big group.
Yeah, I want you to talk a little bit about that. I mean,
Okay,
just
cool.
like I've been kind of, as we're like doing research for the podcast or whatever, and just like listening to your album and stuff, seeing Ivy
Yeah.
League or whatever. Like, tell us a little bit about like what that whole deal is.
Right. So, okay. I don't want to leave anyone out because they know this is happening, and I won't be the end of
Yeah,
it if I forget a name. But okay. So let's break it down. So it's me, Nate. I'll just go by everyone's artist names. That way it's easier. So
yeah.
Nate Spanish would be me, and I write and rap basically. I don't make beats. I've yet to get into that. So then we got Mikey Gold. He produces raps. We got Trazo who produces and masters. We got Will Rapture, rapper. We got Shaft the Shaman, rapper. We got, okay, that's a big five. Then we're working with Tim, who I told you about, who goes by Clarence Tompkins. New album out, Temptations, really good. Then we got our new pal, well, longtime friend, just starting to work with us now, Mark. Doesn't have a rap name yet. We're working on it. And
I say
he
stick
had
with
names.
Mark.
Just Mark, yeah. Mark with the Q. And then we got
Yeah.
Niaga, who was one of the who went to school with us. Everyone went to school with us, all these people.
Yeah.
He
Oh,
was an
okay.
early member, kind of left to do his own thing, and now we're like trying to rekindle and get some new stuff. Hopefully I didn't leave anyone out. That'd be really funny, but also really mean. But yeah. So it's kind of like we started out as like a group. Just the first five I named. Well, Jeff Shaman, he came later. But yeah, it was basically the five of us. And we were making music. We started in like 2017, made our first song in my basement here, and then just slowly started to like kind of build up some stuff in the vault. And then summer 2018, we were like, okay, everyone's gonna put out a solo album. And it was like really not a great process because we're like every like 3 weeks someone's gonna drop an album. And it just was a shit show. We were mastering like last second, so that was not good. But it was a learning process. So we had a group album, we got solo albums, and now we're kind of moving more towards like a less of a group, more of like a collective where like we're all individual but like work together, kind of like Dreamville or like TDE, like those like where
Right.
you can identify all of them together, but they don't perform as like a group,
Yeah.
I
And you all
guess.
have
Or
your
like
you all have your own different work and sounds and
right,
stuff like
yeah.
that. Yeah.
So we're definitely gonna go in on some like group songs for sure with like the new people we've added and stuff. But it's just because there's so many people now, it's just gonna be more of like a collaborative thing instead of just like a group. But when it comes to performing, I don't know what we'll do because there's so many of us. And if we put out an album with everyone on it, I don't know how that's gonna work. But we're more focusing on like the music now, just trying to make better songs and then figure everything out later, basically.
Right. That's okay. That's answered a lot of my questions because when I was checking you guys out, I was like, is this? I was wondering if this was like a label or a studio that you guys are doing, or if this is like a Wu Tang type deal where you guys are like a group and then each doing your own thing. Because it started out like that, and now you guys are kind of moving away from that a little.
Yeah, I mean, we like just recently kind of talked about it, and it's just more of like a, I don't know, like time became an issue. Like we work and stuff, so like that kind of became like personal things that came up, like like Chef had a kid, which we
Holy
would have never
shit!
guessed. You know what I mean? And he also lives in he went to school with us, but he lives in Auburn now. So like that kind of threw, that was kind of hard. So it basically came down to like, okay, like whoever's around will just work, and everyone will just we'll just figure it out. So it was hard to kind of be a group with so many like variables because we wanted everyone around every time we like made a group song.
Right.
Kind of difficult. Now we're kind of just like, let's change up the work process and just be more of like a label or like a collective, which was kind of the goal in the beginning, but it just became like a more like tight group. And now that we're adding more people, it's just easier to be more of like a collaborative thing.
Huh. That's pretty
I
cool.
think that that's I like the way that you guys are what you're going to. I think that that's interesting, and it gives everybody else an opportunity to kind of be more of an individual, but have everybody else
Yeah.
kind of help spread their name. And the reason that it works so well is when you get a group of guys like yourselves or guys, girls, whoever you know, wherever you guys take it, and you're also
Hmm.
passionate about music and you'll have the ability to do this stuff, it allows you guys to, you don't have to force people to do stuff. You know what I mean? You don't have to all be sitting together in a room when there's people in different places with different things going on. You give them the
Yeah.
opportunity to get what they have to get done in their own time and use their own creative space to do that kind of stuff. So I think if anything it'll start to work, it'll work better. I think that sounds like a great idea.
Right. That was kind of our thought process. Is like, a lot of times we like kind of would, I don't know, we've had frustrations with not maybe like working as well as we want. So we figured
Like
adding
together
more
as a
people
group,
and
you mean?
yeah, like in the it's so funny. In the beginning, we were in just a basement. After work, we get out of work at like 10 o'clock at night. Everyone was miserable. We'd get together and we'd make music, and it was great. Like we had fun, but it got to the point where it just like we were like angry at each other. Like we were like just together too much, and it like wasn't even really the best thing. So, and we didn't really accomplish exactly what we wanted, I guess. A lot of fun, but then found more like when we like are casually getting together or whatever it may be, like the product is better and it's like more fun. And it just seemed like back then we like worked really hard and the product wasn't exactly what we wanted. Still love it, but it wasn't exactly what we wanted. And we found just like taking a more casual approach just made things a lot easier and like the music got like way better. That's why we're kind of changing things up, I guess.
Okay, because I wonder the last solo thing that you put out was Mercury 2 years ago, right?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Okay, so that was kind of an EP. And listening to Velvet now, it feels it feels really different. And a
Yeah.
part of that, I mean, you can speak to this. This is just kind of what I got from it listening to
Yeah.
it is it feels like with Velvet you're being so much more honest as an artist. You know what I
Mm-hmm.
mean? Mercury
Yeah.
had a lot of great tracks on it, but this one, Velvet, it feels like you've really got something to say with this.
Right.
You know what I mean? It feels a
Yeah.
lot more
So
open.
yeah, and that's kind of like I told myself, I was like, okay. So basically, like how Velvet really started, because I didn't even plan on doing that, but me and Mikey, we were just the two of us a lot of the time, and he's like, well, why don't we just, you can make some songs or whatever, and like, and he's like really great at, because I'm not super knowledgeable about production. I just like I think I have a pretty decent ear for things, so I'll just tell him like some super vague description. I'll be like, oh, like do like this thing with this thing, and somehow he can do it every time and just make the beat in front of me. And he'll be like, oh, like this, and I'm like, yes, exactly. Like just somehow he always does it. So we just work well together, and Velvet came about just because like we were just together and we started going, and I had some like new ideas, things I like didn't do on Mercury that I wanted to, or maybe something we didn't do on a past group thing that I wanted to, and we like work well with each other. We kind of just experiment and kind of like on my solo things, because I really want a group album where we have stuff made. We're kind of like figuring it out. And I kind of look at my solo albums as kind of like the guinea pigs for the group albums. Like I'm like, all right, if we're gonna do something weird, like I want to do it. And if it sucks, it sucks. If it's good, we're gonna do it on the group album. Which I don't mind because I love like music that doesn't make sense. Because like I think it's because I don't know enough. So I'm like, oh, it sounds great. If it's experimental, I think it's like amazing. So yeah, him and I are just together and we cranked it out over some time. And yeah, Mercury was just kind of like listening back. I was like, okay, I can tell what I was listening to at the time. I can tell I couldn't really write a lot of like the writing wasn't great. Like the lines were good, the rapping was fun, and the lines were funny or whatever. But I was like, I wanna like the song "Feel" on Velvet. I was like, I wanna write something that like actually makes people feel something and isn't just like a goofy rap song. You know what I mean?
I gotta
So
be
yeah, I kind
honest
of went
with
into
you.
Velvet with more. Yeah,
Yeah, that worked because that might be my
thank you.
favorite
Yeah,
song on that album.
thank you. And I'm hoping more people. Yeah, I'm hoping people like can at least feel like something. You know what I mean? And that's kind of why I wrote that. And like some shitty stuff happened to me that like helped me write that song. But I was like, okay, cool. Now I know I can do this. And because it's really hard to write emotional lyrics that are true to you and aren't corny. Like I would scrap a lot of stuff. So with that, I just try to go with like the most like raw way of how I could word anything, and I was like, I'm just
Yeah,
gonna do it like that. So I just kind of
because you
had
don't
to
want it to
like,
feel forced, kind of
right,
thing,
yeah.
and
And I think a lot
yeah,
of times when I tried before in like the Mercury era to be like serious, it just didn't. It felt forced, right? So
yeah.
with that, I like actually went through something, and then I was like, okay, like I feel like I can put something together now.
And I gotta say, you can tell by listening to that song specifically, of course,
Hmm.
that you were taking from something that happened to you.
Yeah,
And
right.
as a listener, it just honestly, it really resonated, and that's man, it was awesome. I honestly can't say enough about it.
That's
I don't know
that's
where else
good
I
to
can
hear
go,
'cause
but
right, like I didn't know how people would take that, and not that I have some like crazy fan base, but like I ask friends and stuff, and like maybe people I don't talk to as much to give because I feel like they'll be really honest with me. And I don't know if anyone said anything about that. Not that they didn't like it, but given like Mercury with like Death Star, especially the
yeah.
goofiest song I've kind of like just funny, like stupid. So going from like something like that to Feel, I was like, maybe people like me better goofy, but at the same time I was like, I don't want this to be like that. So I was like, I'm just gonna go for it. So I'm glad to hear you say that because I'm like, even if it's not the best songwriting or the best like vocal performance, I was like, hopefully they can at least like, I don't know, see what the picture I was trying to paint basically.
Absolutely. Everybody knows that it's tough to be honest.
Yeah.
And when someone like you puts out a song like that, and I think even in other
Hmm.
songs, there are kind of moments where what you do in that song on a bigger scale does shine through.
For sure, yeah.
That's, I mean, that just really resonates with people on a next level compared to something like you said with your song Death Star that's on Mercury, which is a good song. But like you said, totally, totally different. Well, when you're talking about
Right.
writing, I had a question for you because I don't know shit
Okay.
about rapping. Obviously, I don't know if anyone has
That's
ever
okay.
seen a picture of me before, but I don't look like someone who.
Well, you could
I
look
still
on
don't.
YouTube. You could look on our YouTube page.
Yeah, great plug, Matthew. Way to go! Throw that random plug in there. Jesus
Had to get,
Christ.
wait, you got to get them in there.
I guess so. But one of the
True.
things that I noticed in a few of your songs, uh, on both Mercury and Velvet, was this references to a lot of different things in pop culture. Probably, maybe most significantly in your song "Lizzie," where you straight
Lizzie
up like
McGuire.
right away just like talk to myself like Lizzie McGuire. I
So funny when you
love
talk.
that line, dude. It's so
Thank you.
that line is awesome. So do you think that, and from what little I do know about rap music, do you think that it's kind of important to be paying attention to the sort of cultural zeitgeist, I guess, and have sort of references like that in your back pocket to pull out when you do songs and stuff? Like, do you think that's more important in your genre than others to an extent?
Um, yeah, I don't know if it's more important, but I think it's more prevalent in rap music. And obviously, like, you know, you're in a way you're gonna emulate like kind of who you listen to or who you like most times. So, a lot of rappers I like make those pop culture references, and it's scattered throughout because a lot of times I find in rap music just being like you could literally get your point across by being like if I just said like, yeah, like I'm Lizzie McGuire, like people would come up with their own thing, and like somehow in rap that's like thing where you can just be like, I'm this person, and everyone's like, I know what that means somehow. Like you don't have to say more than that. So yeah, and I just enjoy like Ski Mask the Slump God. He's like so good at making like pop culture references. So we I wish I remember kind of how that came up. Me and Mikey were working, and I think one of us was like, we were just kind of like sitting there like saying stuff, and I was like, I talked to myself like I'm Lizzie McGuire, and then I think I had the beginning first, and then I used the line to start the verse, but I just thought it'd be funny, and it kind of like has a tone to it where it's like, oh, this like crazy dude talks to himself like Lizzie McGuire, the famous person for talking to themselves.
Right.
But I
Oh
just don't
my
have a
gosh.
cartoon person following me around. But if that was a music video, that'd be a good idea. Have like a little Nate Spanish with me. Yeah.
That's actually a really good idea. I would
Yeah,
watch that
dude.
music video.
Dude,
for
you have
sure.
to. You
Yeah,
have
dude.
to do
Yeah.
that now.
Yeah.
If we had some money and an animator of some kind, I would do it. I don't care.
Well, we'll look into it.
Yeah. Maybe
Yeah.
maybe there's one listening to this, and that next thing you know,
I'm saying.
There's
Um,
gotta be.
I have a question. It's a little bit off topic of your music so much. It's more about Ivy League. It's actually about Will. Um, So I graduated with Will. I don't know
Yep.
him super well, but every time I've ever encountered him, he has I've ended up dying laughing. Like the dude is so funny from what I have experienced from. Is he like that all the time? Like when you guys are working and stuff like that, is he making you laugh, or is he more like when he's doing his music? Is he like different?
Uh, no doubt. I mean, yeah, Will's like one of the funniest people I know. If not the
Hysterical.
funniest. Yeah, he like when I first met him, I mean, yeah, like even though we went to school together, I briefly knew him in like when I was in 10th and 11th grade, or just pretty much the back half of high school. We like kind of knew each other, but we went to N Trip. Shout out to N Trip. We
Shout out to the
used to
trap.
sit at the booth together, and how we met. Me and Mikey had this idea that we were gonna film a talk show in my living room, like the Eric Andre show. It's gonna be called the Nathan Show. We barely knew Will, knew he liked to act, so we're like, he's funny. Like we knew him enough to like talk to him, and we sat with him at school. And we're like, dude, would you want to come to come to my house and be on this weird, shitty show that we're gonna film in his living room? He was like, yeah, I'll do it. So the first time we like hung out with them, like outside of a school scenario, was he came to my house, this shitty talk show in my living room where I was a talk show host and he was my Uncle Reggie, and we didn't even know each other well enough to like go off of each other like comedically, but it made it funnier because it was just so awkward. And I said to him, I was like, why'd you do that? I'm like, you didn't know us but wanted to be on this stupid thing that never even came out. And he was like, oh, I don't know. I was like, well, that's like our friendship. But yeah, Will, I mean, I love Will's rapping, and like even people like everyone I know, they're like, that's Will. Like I'm like, yeah, like that's Will. And he's really good at it, and he's a good writer too. Like he's written some of the hooks on demos and stuff. And yeah, he takes it seriously, but yeah, he's always like making me laugh. He's one of those people you just look at him and you just start laughing because he's gonna say something dumb.
Yeah,
You
he's
start
gonna
laughing
say something
before
that's
he
gonna
says
make
it.
you laugh. Yeah, and
Yeah.
that's like I said, I don't know him very well. Just we've talked a few times, like throughout when we were like right up to when we were graduating, kind of from high school, and I follow him on Twitter, and he's
Yeah.
just me. That's all that's really all I know about him. But for some reason, like I will always think he's funny. So
yeah.
I was curious about that.
I gotta meet this
Yeah.
guy. Sounds like somebody
Yeah,
who's got
Andy,
be on the podcast.
you know what? Andy, you and him, you guys could do something funny. Yeah.
Definitely. He's
But-
a good actor too.
Andy, do you have any other like music-related questions? I don't want to get too off topic before, we get into anything else.
Kind of. I'm just honestly curious about. You touched on Mikey Gold being like, producer
Yeah.
extraordinaire, which is awesome. I can't even imagine what it's like to work with somebody like that. Like that sounds like the type of person that you want to be making music with. So,
Yeah.
but anyways, does he make a lot? Did he make like all the beats on this album or what? Because that was one of the other more impressive things about Velvet was I was like, oh my God, some of these are like really like kind of next level, a little bit out of the box, like really, really good.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So, yeah, like I said, it was mostly just the two of us making these songs, and the other producer Trazo, he helped on Lizzie. I think I don't know which part, I can't remember because it's funny. Like a lot of this was recorded a really long time ago. Like I think we started in October around my birthday, just like hanging out in my basement when my parents were away, just like all day working out. Yeah, like we just, get a little tipsy and then we just, go all day. Like we'll, record something, sit down, talk, hang out, eat food or whatever, record more stuff. It was kind of like an all day affair. And we knocked out like Lizzie and Slide in one night, which, that was mostly just us kind of like messing around. And yeah, I do remember, I think, yeah, Trazo, he helped on Lizzie. But yeah, Mikey pretty much made the whole thing, and he mastered it too, which we had another friend master it, and there were some complications. And due to all this stuff going on, we weren't able to, we wanted to get together to master it so it'd be easier, but couldn't happen. So we had to kind of it out a different way. But yeah, me and him worked really well together, and he made the whole thing. Luckily, like I said, he can translate my loose-ended thoughts into beats because he just figures it out. It's amazing. And he'll pick up the guitar, like whatever, like he plays guitar on I can't remember what song. You guys probably know what song it is, but I love guitar, like the way he played, I don't know, I just love it. Like I think there should be more guitars in rap, which there is kind of in more like the emo rap or whatever you want to call it, but that surf rock guitar that he's so good at accomplishing just sounds so good at the end of some crazy beat or the one where I scream and then there's a guitar. So I always love that. So I'd make him pick up the guitar as much as possible.
Is he actually playing drums or is somebody actually playing the drums on some of those? Or there's one song.
It's like a drum pad.
Okay.
So
okay.
he's basically playing it, but with his fingers, it's the buttons. So
Yeah.
he does technically play it, but yeah, not live. We wanted to do because his brother Zach's an amazing drummer. We wanted to do we wanted to either make a song or do a video of a song of him playing real drums and me performing or re-record it with live drums. Just hasn't happened yet, but maybe down the road we'll do a live stream, do a little concert or something.
I hope you do, because that's awesome. I feel I wish more people would do that, because that sounds, man, it sounds great on your album, just the pad or whatever, but having somebody actually play live and stuff.
Yeah,
man,
that'd
that's
be
awesome. And it's not like any other type of drumming, I feel like. Again, not that I'm just kind of talking on my ass, but it really it's so
It's actually
unique.
not true. Andrew bought a drum set once.
Oh Jesus Christ! Yeah, I did buy a drum
It's
set once.
it's still in the back room of our basement. I think that it's got a lot of dust on it, but if you were to wipe it off, I don't know if it's ever actually been hit by a drumstick.
Another one of my failed endeavors. Thank you, Matthew.
No, I'm just letting everybody else that's listening know that you do have a drum set back there. Because it's one of my friend's favorite jokes is, yo, when's Andy going to start playing the drums? And it's funny because you don't know how.
Hey, next album, you can pick up a couple beats or two. We'll get
you got a
in there.
triangle? He could probably rip a triangle around for...
The
Oh my
electric
gosh.
triangle? Yeah.
Electric Triangle. Man, I haven't played the Electric Triangle since my Aerosmith
September of '08,
War.
right?
days. September of '08. Yeah, that was probably
Had to be
the
at
last
least
time
08.
Yeah.
I hung it up forever. I see that you got the Braves in the background. That's the first
Yep.
thing I said when you hopped on. Have you been watching The Last Dance at all?
Yeah, and I watched the swearing version just to feel. I just think it's funny.
Yes. You have to.
Way
You
better.
have to.
Way more emotional. But I haven't, because it just ended, didn't it?
Yeah, on
Yeah.
Sunday was the last
Sunday.
two.
See, I didn't catch the last two, but I usually watch it like the day after. Have not caught the last two, but I saw they're putting out the movie now, Game
Yeah.
6 or whatever.
Yeah, Game 6.
What
the
is
last
that?
or- I don't know. I saw ESPN literally on my way home from work. Actually, not on my way home from work. Somewhere where I wasn't driving, I was just quick Twitter check before I showered and came down here and hopped on. I saw that they were coming out with the Game 6 movie, and that looks really awesome too.
Yeah, I'll definitely watch that too. I mean, there's not a lot else to do,
Yeah.
so
For now,
Uh,
hopefully stuff starts to open. What else have you accomplished watching wise thus far throughout the whole quarantine? I know you said you were getting into some movies and whatnot.
yeah. I've been meaning to watch that Capone movie, but I heard it was not good.
Yeah, well, I
Read some
can't.
stuff, heard it wasn't good.
I can't believe that. I mean, I haven't seen it myself either. I heard those same things, but I mean,
Yeah.
come on.
Which one is that?
That's the one with Tom Hardy's playing Al Capone. Have you
I
seen
think
this?
people go into it thinking
Is it
it's gonna
called
be like
Capone?
Something like that. I don't,
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't.
I think people go into it thinking it's gonna be like a normal mob movie, mobster movie, but it's about him as like an old man with dementia, and well, he's got syphilis, and then has
He's got
think
syphilis.
dementia, and he's
Yep.
that'll get you. But he's
Yeah,
looking
That's what
back.
never
happens.
fun.
He's got, what
Yeah.
do they say on that episode of Drunk History? He's got part of his brain eaten away, literally eaten away by his own cock pus. Like that's
No, yeah. And
That was more graphic than I was expecting you to
just
explain that. But
that's
I mean, he's
reality.
right, though.
I
Yeah.
actually haven't heard of that movie. It sounds interesting though. I can understand why it probably didn't do that well in the opinion of other people if they wanted it to be like that mobster movie. But if you go into a movie like that knowing that it's about like what the story, not the whole storyline, but not expecting that high action kind of violent crime movies like that, I usually really enjoy kind of getting a backstory of or whatever,
Yeah.
not a prequel, whatever they call it. I don't know.
I guess that's
but-
Yeah.
I guess that's an interesting point.
The end to his life and kind of see, because those, like they go through a lot of shit during their life, and I guess it's a side of it that you would never get to see if it,
Yeah, it's a
Wasn't
cool
made up
angle
that.
to take.
yeah.
Yeah, it's different, which I think that's kind of why I was intrigued. Because if it was still like a normal biopic or whatever, I would have watched it. But the angle they took, I thought was like really different because no one really does that. But I think that kind of like also maybe is why people didn't like it because they're like expecting some huge violent young Al Capone doing
Yeah.
some stuff, and it's just
Right.
old guy,
With his Tommy
shitting
gun.
himself in Florida.
In his heyday.
Right.
Old guy shitting himself.
Yeah.
Yeah. Hey, what are you gonna do?
I guess so. I just
Yeah.
I feel like, especially when you have an actor of Tom Hardy's caliber, like
Yeah.
having that kind of niche angle, it's got to be. I just feel like that's got to be more of an exercise, acting wise. You know what I mean? Like you got to, you could have probably some B-lister be like Al Capone doing all that stuff because
Yeah.
it would be such a specific character, and kind of letting his actions define the character and not the other way around.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas I've got to imagine with this Hardy movie, when he is an old man, it's got to be the reverse of that, and like a more of an exercise in acting.
Yeah, I'll have to check it out. Now you've got me intrigued.
Yeah,
So.
that's our
Yeah,
little
I'll probably still
promo.
watch it.
It's our little promo
yeah,
for
we'll plug
Capone,
it.
I guess.
So, Yeah, I mean, we do a lot of we do a ton of TV and movie talk on this podcast, especially right now. It's kind of one of the things that we both have a common interest in.
Yeah.
So, Andrew, do you want to maybe get into, our new segment that we're thinking about doing, or you want what do you think?
Yeah, let's go for it. Let's give it
I'm
a shot.
asking you. So, based on the basis of our interests in entertainment like that, Nathan, I don't know if he warned you that we're doing this, but we're starting a new segment this week called "Who Would Win." We're gonna do the "Who Would Win" of the week. This week's "Who Would Win" of the week is who would win in a fight.
Have you
Joe
watched? Have you watched
Yeah,
Tiger
go
King,
ahead.
by the way?
Oh yeah, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, okay. I was gonna say I don't even think you have to ask people that anymore.
I don't
Most
know.
of the time. Yeah, you never know. So, who would win of the week in a fight? Joe Exotic versus Stitch from Lilo and Stitch.
Hmm.
So that's this week's fight. This is our first ever one doing it. So we're gonna have to work our way through the rules
Okay.
and thought process of. Well, rule number one: no weapons, no guns. Obviously, Joe Exotic would just shoot Stitch in the head, just like he does his tigers.
Okay.
Yeah.
Wow.
But Joe Exotic has his cane that he walks around with. So if you have you know what I mean? If you have
Accessory, yeah.
or you know how he wears like that metal knee brace? If you wanted to take that, maybe sharpen it down,
Weaponize it. Okay.
shiv, anything that is usually on your person
But Joe Exotic.
that's not a true weapon.
Joe Exotic. Okay, fine. Because Joe Exotic
Yeah.
always has the gun on him. Okay, this changes.
No.
This changes my entire.
Why? You thought Joe Exotic was gonna have a gun?
Yes. At least a trained
No.
gun.
No. And even then, okay, well, I'll say right now, I have Stitch winning this fight. In a straight up, it's a brawl. It's like it would. Yeah, there's
Like a cage
no
match.
firearms, and no. I think there should be no knives too. The reason I'll say if you have something on you that's like you could weaponize, because like even like claws, if like Stitch has like, what is it? He has little nails maybe. You're not gonna take those off. You're not gonna say you can't use them. But
Right, yeah.
I think that you can't put in a weapon because if you could give Joe Exotic, but Stitch is quick. You might not even be able to shoot him. I don't know if a gun changes this fight. I think Stitch wins every time. I'll explain my theory again, but I want to hear what you guys have to say.
Go ahead,
The
Nate. What were
Stitch
you
head.
saying?
Yeah, I been a minute since I watched that. The Stitch
Lilo-
Go movie
Yeah,
ever.
he's like a
Haven't
little
done my
blue.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, I remember him.
Yeah.
Does he have any like powers? Like not powers, but you know what I mean? Does he like?
He's like, I mean,
do
he is
something?
technically an alien, but he doesn't have powers.
Right.
He's just a little spazzy motherfucker. Like he's really fast. He can crawl, climb, super
Right.
spazzy.
He's gonna. Yeah, he's too fast for Joe. I mean, Joe, we know, got
Joe's
bad
batshit
back,
crazy though.
bad knees. I mean, he's definitely not looking good for Joe initially,
Oh.
but he is used to handling animals, tigers.
Big
So,
animals, yeah.
I mean, I'm probably gonna go with Stitch, just in the sole fact he's like a little psycho, and Joe's just immobile. So just get him on the
Okay.
ground. I mean, that's it.
Can we? Okay, so I keep going back. Joe Exotic. You're sure he doesn't have at least a trank gun?
No,
You're not even giving him that. Okay.
no.
He goes straight to real gun.
Yeah, I mean,
That
that's
was kind
true.
of concerning in the documentary. He did not even consider a tranquilizer. Real Colt 45 on the waist. Tiger bites him, and one less tiger.
I guess.
That was
Yeah.
his solution.
I guess there's
Yeah,
no
we did
stopping
a
him,
lot of
maybe.
talk about that show on here. Well, that's the thing is, that most human beings, I'm taking Stitch every time.
Yeah,
I'm giving Joe Exotic. The dude has a chance. I mean, he's batshit crazy. He deals with these giant animals all the time. He's not going to be afraid of Stitch. He's never going to back down. But I think in the long run, Stitch wins. I do. I don't know. What do you think? You were going to take Joe Exotic originally, thinking he had a gun, weren't you?
Well, here's the thing. I think even if you give Joe Exotic, even if you were to give him a real gun, I say that giving him a trank gun is still sort of a setback for him. He's still at a little bit of more of a disadvantage than typically. Even if you give him a trank gun, Stitch has the dexterity to give him a tough time, aiming and trying to shoot him and stuff. Stitch is a little, he's a wily little guy. He's got a bunch of arms.
Here's what I'll say. Here's what I'll say though, Andrew.
Okay.
This is the first one we've ever done. This is our first Who Would Win of the week. A precedent has to be set. You can't say, you can't look at the fight if Joe had a weapon because we're saying he doesn't have a weapon. And here's why I'll say that is because there were some other ideas that we threw out of where we wanted to started with this segment, who we wanted to pick, what was the fight going to be, and there were several options where you actually included that option having a weapon. So I think if you say Joe Exotic versus Stitch from Lilo and Stitch, no weapons included. If you would have said Joe Exotic with a gun, you know what I mean? We have to be upfront and forward with what we're working with. And you can always, put in your 2 cents about, but at the end of the day, that's not who would win this week. Stitch would win this week. Would you agree, Nate?
I mean, yeah, like I said, I'm taking Stitch. I forgot about the multiple arm thing. I mean, you can't deny that. That's
shit. I didn't even think of the multiple arm thing.
Yeah, you brought that up. He's one dodgy little bastard. He'll run around. Joe Exotic might just, get pooped out. He might not have any energy. He's going to get caught not moving, and then Stitch might just gouge his eyes out. Who knows what Stitch could do if he turns violent. We don't know that. That part was never revealed to us, but he could just claw his eyes out if he really wanted to. Maybe right away.
Like, from the first bell, it's over.
Yeah, just straight in. I don't see Joe really, throwing him off or anything like that. I mean, I don't know.
All right.
If he I don't know. I think there's definitely people. Yeah, maybe we did go a little one-sided for the first one. Here's what I'll say, though. Another point that I wanted to make, which is a really dumb joke that you would only understand if you've ever been on the Stitch Escapes ride that's at Tomorrowland in Walt Disney World. Do you know the ride I'm talking about, Andrew?
Yeah.
I don't know if you're familiar with the Nate, but on the ride you get trapped. No, there's no. You're sitting there. You're
Buzz Lightyear.
Yeah, it's right across from Buzz Lightyear, directly across.
Oh, I've probably been on it.
Stitch farts during the ride, and it's one of those 5D or whatever rides,
5D.
And it just makes the entire building, fuck you, Andrew.
4.
Whatever the building is called,
Matthew. There's 4 Ds. There's 4 Ds. You can't get
only
a 5th D.
You can never get to the 5th.
You can't get a 5th D.
Either way, it smells legitimately so bad. I went on it, I think, once in my life, and I won't go back on it because I don't want to deal with that smell. They just make Stitch fart. Do you remember this, Andrew?
What's that, Nate?
They're just gassing everybody out of this ride?
Yeah. I don't know why that's part of the fun for them.
Do you remember it, Andrew? Because it's a real thing.
Yes,
Stitch
I know
goes,
what you're talking about.
Yeah, you hear him fart, and then it looks like gas clouds come out of the ceiling, and then you hear Stitch laugh, and then it just smells like straight ass in the whole enclosed ride.
That's pretty next level.
Yeah, those Imagineers, they don't get paid enough.
No. So if you let Stitch
for discovering a fifth dimension, those guys are way underpaid.
I mean, they transport you to another dimension just for this ride, and then they gas you.
Jesus Christ.
Hey, above and beyond, I guess.
I guess so. Damn. There's a terrible Walt Disney was a Nazi joke to be made here.
I was dancing around to that.
Yeah. But I'm starting to sweat. I'm starting to sweat thinking about making it, so I don't know about that one.
Yeah, I was like, I can't go too hard too quick.
Do you remember those books, Andrew? Those were the kids that worked at Disney World at night. There was a whole different world
The Kingdom Keepers series.
Those books were really good.
That's very true.
How many? Was there only? I think I only read. What was that, Nate?
I like now you mentioned that I vaguely remember that somehow, deep in my memory.
We're bringing up all kinds of stuff this time around.
Those were really cool because some of it was based on somewhat of like not true, but historically based wise tales surrounding Disney, weren't they?
Yeah, once you get to like the third book, they discover Walt Disney's hidden office, and there's these vivid descriptions of swastikas, sort of surrounding the walls and stuff. That's not there. It's a book for kids. That's not what happens, but that would.
Oh, you made that up. I didn't know. I never read the third book.
I was like, oh, all right.
Matthew, come on. I can't believe you fell for that one. That's Robert Lincoln's boat all over again.
No, I knew that you were fucking lying about that. You know what I don't want to talk about that boat. Where was that at Rushford?
Yeah.
Yeah, fuck it. You know why? That fucking boat puts me in a salty mood.
You'll be all right.
Yeah. And I knew you were lying, too. I was the one the whole time that was saying you're lying. And everybody else, other people, were like, they believed it. And I'm like, I've known this dude for the past 21 years of my life. I know for a fact that he's making this shit up.
That just a few seconds ago, what you two heard, that was the first time I've ever lied, actually. Unless you count stealing Nate's Power Ranger, I guess.
Yeah. Well, you never told him you didn't steal it from how his history goes. So. That wasn't a lie. That was, yeah.
I would deceive the youth.
I'm glad. That's the main reason we had you on this podcast. It wasn't just Velvet. It was to have that.
Andrew had a guilty conscience.
Yeah.
Andrew had a guilty conscience.
It was to have that weight lifted.
Maybe we should just. I still have it. Maybe we should just let him come on and talk about that shitty album and just put this all behind us.
Yeah,
it worked.
That's all it was.
Great.
I wasn't going to say it, but I actually have texts that say the same thing. But now that you figured it out.
Tweet that.
So, well, I'll say a few things. One, because we've been going for about 50 minutes. So we are going to keep doing that segment, Who Would Win of the Week. We're going to try to perfect it, like I said, little lopsided this week. So if you do have any ideas of people that you want to fight, animated characters, real life, it doesn't matter what it is. It could be an inanimate object for all I care. If you think that it could beat something else in a fight, let us know. You can tweet us at them. And so, Nate, jumping full circle now back to your music. For everybody that's listening to this now, if you want to tell everybody, where you can listen to your music, if it's on Spotify, YouTube, all that stuff, all your whole Ivy League Twitter handles. I don't know if you guys sell stuff, whatever that. If you want to talk about all that right now, that way, because I'm sure there's a lot of people that are listening to this that are now interested really in listening to that album.
Yeah, if you listen to us talk about Stitch and Exotic Joe for a bit, you have certainly beyond earned the right to do a plug.
Right. So hopefully this has convinced them to listen to the album. Okay, so yeah, it's on every platform you can think of, because we use this thing called DistroKid. They send it out to like everything. So pretty much anywhere you could go, it's there. Velvet, Nate Spanish. You can follow me if you want on Instagram. It's like a music and personal Instagram. Nate Spanish, all one thing with 2 H's. Then we got Ivy League at Ivy League CLTV is Twitter and Instagram. Hopefully we got a new group songs at some point this summer. Usually summer's our big time where we like get a lot of stuff done. And yeah, that's pretty much the plugs. Yeah, go listen to the album, and if you find my Instagram and Twitter, like if you think it sucks, DM me. We'll talk about it. If you think it's great, talk about it. I just enjoy feedback, so yeah, I really appreciate if people could go listen. If not, that's up to you. Can't make you do that, but sure.
I love it. Yeah,
definitely,
not forcing you into anything. You don't have to force them into anything, Nate, but I will force them into anything.
Yeah.
Just
fucking
listen. listen right now. For God's sake, go listen to Velvet. You can listen to it anywhere. You can listen to it on Spotify. You can listen to it on iTunes. Just fucking buy it on iTunes. You can afford it. Just go buy it. Pay for the album on iTunes.
The album is like 12 minutes long. So you could do that. You could take a shit and listen to the full thing. You know what I mean? It's like it's
That'd be a quick shit.
It's one car ride. Just throw it on. You just leave the volume off if you really don't. If you hate me, turn the volume off, but stream it. By the time you get to where you're going, the whole thing will be over, and like you help me out. So, it's an easy listen, really short. Got a couple songs that are like a minute 30, so that keeps the attention span like right in that pocket. So yeah,
perfect,
awesome, yeah. And then before we wrap up completely, so for those of you listening, from our Two in the Cooler Twitter account, I'll tweet out the links to Ivy League and stuff like that. So that way, if you guys don't feel like putting in the work to go look it up, it'll be all right on our Twitter. And then it'll be Thursday when this video drops, right? So Thursday,
tomorrow,
May 21st. Yep. That's when this comes out. So it'll be on YouTube, all that stuff. So check out the YouTube channel. Follow us on Twitter. Follow Nate Spanish, Instagram, Twitter, Ivy League, all that stuff. Thank you guys for listening a ton. Nate, we're really glad you come on. We're happy that, when Andrew contacted me about having you on, he said the biggest thing is, you're kind of in that same realm that we're just now getting into, and that entertainment, kind of, you want people to listen to, your music, or, people to enjoy what we have to say. So it was really cool to talk to somebody who's had a few years experience kind of doing it and starting it and all that stuff. So thank you a bunch for coming on. We appreciate that. And Andrew or Nate, anything else you guys have to add before we call it a night?
Nope, just appreciate Nate Spanish coming on the podcast for the first of what'll hopefully be a couple times on. We'd love to have you back sometime.
Yeah, and thank you guys. Like you said, we're both kind of in the same boat. So it's like if everyone in music, whatever, cover art, anything can just like do this, where we come together and kind of boost each other up, because it's like way easier, and like people kind of like understand each other at this level, and that's what makes it work. So yeah, hopefully when we put out a group album, we can come back and maybe like in person or whatever. We after all this,
oh my god,
we can do a big one
for sure. That would be...
Or if we're here, everyone will be right here, all seven.
Yeah, that would be awesome. I think that's a really cool idea.
Yeah, that'd be really. See, that's what you want to do. These guys are hilarious, so
yeah,
that'd be awesome. Play that game again. They have some really weird opinions about it, but that'd be fun. But either way, yeah, thank you guys for my first formal interview. I feel like a little baby learning how to walk right now.
Boom. I love it. Excellent. That's a podcast this week. We'll see you guys next week. Matt, Nate, thanks, guys. Let's get out of here. We'll see you later.